Wilson's proposal shows what the Air Warfare Branch considers would be the minimum necessary for sustaining a high tempo of global operations, while maintaining numbers and readiness to counter a great power adversary for long. Debates over Air Force spending have revolved around specific platforms and technologies. How many F-35s and B-21s should the Air Force procure? How long should it continue flying its aging B-52s and F-15s? Should the beloved A-10 be retired, and will it be replaced by an even more cost-efficient OAX counterinsurgency plane? But at the Air, Space, and Cyber Conference on September 16, 2018, Air Force Secretary Heather Wilson laid out a plan that is all about scale, having more pilots fly more planes to do more stuff. Wilson, a former congresswoman from New Mexico and one of the first women to graduate from the Air Force Academy, unveiled a proposal to activate 74 more operational squadrons by 2030, raising the total from 312 to 386, just a bit shy of the 401 squadrons active at the end of the Cold War. The Navy, Air Force, and Marines combined muster around 3,400 combat aircraft, 50% more than Russia and roughly twice the number of China. However, unlike its rivals, the semi-peacetime Air Force must spread its 2,100 operational aircraft across the globe. The U.S. Air Force defends allies in Europe and Asia, fights counterinsurgency wars in the Middle East, Central Asia, and even Africa to a more limited extent, and patrols North American airspace. To maintain this grueling pace of activity, the Air Force continually shuffles small detachments of planes and personnel from one end of the globe to the other, while furnishing tanker aircraft to refuel airframes transiting those long distances. This has greatly strained airframes and personnel, causing difficulty retaining pilots and low readiness rates for aircraft. Air National Guard units have increasingly become commandeered into regular operational roles. Thus, Wilson's proposal shows what the Air Warfare Branch considers would be the minimum necessary for sustaining a high tempo of global operations, while maintaining numbers and readiness to counter a great power adversary, i.e., Russia or China. However, there is little chance the Air Force will actually get 74 squadrons. This is a highball opening bid for a piece of the enormous defense spending cake set on the table by the 2018 budget, which increased military spending by $52 billion. The Navy has successfully leveraged aspirations for a 355-ship Navy to secure itself a big piece of that cake, and the Air Force is hoping 386 squadrons will prove similarly catchy. Wilson later conceded in an interview that they literally had yet to devise specifics on how much the new squadrons cost and how they would be funded. She also did not know the number of additional airframes that would need to be procured for such ambitious plans. However, a total of 40,000 additional personnel was projected, which would have an estimated cost of $5.2 billion annually. The Air Force is currently aiming to add 15,000 personnel by 2023, for a total of 685,000 across the active duty, National Guard and Reserve units. But while you may be calculating that 74 squadrons amounts to well over 1,000 new jet fighters, think again. Over 3/4 of the new units would perform support roles. You can see the Air Force's breakdown of additional types of squadrons in this chart. The most significant increase calls for 22 additional command and control and intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance squadrons, for a total of 62. These units employ diverse aircraft ranging from airliner-based E-3 Sentry AWACS radar planes, E-6 nuclear doomsday aircraft to RC-135 Rivet Joint Signals Intelligence planes. Also included are drones, 1950s-era U-2 spy planes and small civilian-style surveillance aircraft deployed to forward airstrips in the Middle East and Africa. Clearly, the Air Force sees a need for even more eyes in the sky and denser communication networks. On that same theme, Wilson's proposal would increase space squadrons from 16 to 23. These units test, launch and operate satellites for spying, communications and even offensive jamming. It seems these units might be incorporated into the proposed Space Force, for which Wilson, previously a critic of the concept, released a $13 billion proposal representing the Air Force's vision for the new branch. Wilson would also like to increase both combat search and rescue and aerial refueling squadrons by a third. This would grow 12 ship tanker squadrons from 40 to 54, implying 168 more aircraft. These would presumably be new KC-46 Pegasus tankers based on the Boeing 767. The 27 combat search and rescue squadrons would be increased to 36. These are equipped with HC-130 Combat King transports and HH-60G helicopters which can deploy PJS, pararescuemen, trained to recover personnel in the most life-threatening of circumstances. The proposal also envisions increasing by nearly a quarter the current 84 fighter, bomber, and special operations squadrons. The 7 extra special operations units would operate a mixture of upgunned commando transports, tilt rotors, drones and light aircraft used for clandestine purposes. The 7 extra fighter units would most likely fly F-35 stealth fighters, though ground attack units operating A-10s are also counted under fighters. This consideration of A-10s invites the question whether the Thunderbolts units would be retained, or potential new OAX light strike aircraft like the A-29 Super Tucano would subsume their role or serve alongside them.